So I've been playing RPGs for decades, and I'm a big fan of the old school Final Fantasy games. When I saw the trailer for Voice of Cards, I was intrigued by it. It looked like a really fun traditional RPG with the kind of layout and aesthetics of kind of playing a card game, or playing kind of a card game like in a tavern, kind of like Hearthstone, especially when it comes to the battles of this game. It got me really interested in terms of what this game is. And so I played it and I loved it. I thought it's a really great game. It's the perfect kind of palate cleanser game, because after playing kind of a big game or a big kind of meaty or chunky game, this is a great kind of 8 to 10 hour experience that is pretty easy to play, that's not too complicated, and just kind of really fun and interesting. It's not perfect, and I'll get to kind of why I think there's a couple of areas where I think it could be better, but I really enjoyed this game. So the game starts out in a very traditional kind of RPG story. You're the hero, you've got two companions, and basically you need to kill a dragon. That's the aim of the game kind of initially. There's another kind of group, the Ivory Order, who's kind of your competing competitors when it comes to killing the dragon. They're a group of experienced warriors, and you need to try and find the dragon and kill it first. The story is actually really interesting. You get new characters for your party along the way as you journey. There are decisions you make later on in the game that actually affect the ending, and I'm pretty sure I got probably one of the worst endings in the game, which is kind of makes me want to go back and play it again, because I want to try and see what happens if I made a different decision towards the end. But there are some real twists and turns in the ending, some unexpected events, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the story was great, actually. So yeah, I really like the story, and the whole game is narrated by, you've got a narrator who's the games master, who's narrating everything that's happening. You don't have any voices for the characters in the cards themselves, and the narrator does a great job of kind of conveying what's going on, the emotions of the characters, and even humor as well. There are some moments and some elements to the game which are pretty funny, actually, especially when you get to one of the characters, Bruno. Bruno and his dad, the way they're kind of competing against each other in a kind of a little tournament. I won't spoil it too much, but it was pretty funny. And you know, the narrator and even just kind of the movement of the cards actually did a really good job of kind of bringing that kind of comedy to life. So no, I was really impressed with the story, with the characters, with the narration, and I really recommend it from that perspective. In terms of the gameplay, so you are basically moving through an environment of cards, and within that you're kind of expanding the area that you can see around you, and so you'll encounter, you know, rivers, forests, mountains, and they slowly open up as you move through this map. And you'll get to random encounter battles as well, but I'll talk about that in a minute. As you're going through the map, you've got a clear objective in terms of, or like sub-objectives as you're playing the game. So it'll be to, you know, you may have one objective, which is to reach a town, for example, and talk to a certain person, and you'll kind of progress through the game like that. When it comes to the battles, it's, again, very traditional in terms of RPG, but you don't have an MP gauge, so you don't have kind of a magic gauge that gets used up over time. The way it works is that each character has cards, which are their abilities, and basically you'll choose a card, and you've got these gems. And some abilities will use no gems, and some abilities will use gems. Every time it's a player has a go, you get one gem. So essentially, imagine Ma as one of your party members, it's his go, one gem appears for that character. And then you can choose to use a card that uses 0 gems, 1 gem, or maybe 2 gems. But you need to kind of balance it a little bit. So you could use a spell that has that requires a high number of gems, but then you may not have enough gems later to actually heal your party in case you need it. So there is a little bit of a balancing to it. It's not particularly difficult. So, and that I think is one of the criticisms I have with the game generally. I finished the whole game and I didn't die once. I actually can't remember if there were difficulty options at the beginning, but generally I didn't find the game overly difficult. It's once you kind of get a feel for the game, you kind of have a good flow in terms of how you handle combat, how you make sure that you're healing your party members as well. And as you beat enemies, you gain experience and you level up and you unlock new cards as well, new abilities. I pretty much stayed with the same party that I had from the very beginning of the game. I did experiment and try the other characters out, but I just preferred the party I had and just kind of was used to them. So I just ended up sticking with them. But I did enjoy the battles. They were a little simplistic, but like I said, it's a great palate cleanser game. It's something that you can sit there and, you know, watch TV while you're playing, because it's not overly committal in terms of your brain power. Which, you know, it's fine. Those kinds of games are fine for me. I think sometimes after playing like something like Death Stranding, it's kind of nice to have something that's a bit more simple and just kind of easy to jump in and out and not requiring too much brain power. Now, I did mention there was one area that I wasn't, you know, I had some negative perceptions about the game in a couple of areas. So one is the ease in terms of difficulty of the game, and the other is the frequency of random encounters. There are just so many random encounters. So you'll step on a card, you'll fight a battle, and there were times when I just moved 2 squares and then had another battle. And it got a bit frustrating at points, because you are rewarded for exploring in this game. There are items and treasure that you can find if you explore around the map, but the idea of then having to face so many battles along the way, every time you try and go in a different direction, it just really put me off from exploration. And even in some of the dungeons, especially the last 2 chapters of the game, I just didn't want to explore anywhere, because it was just every time you explore, you then go through a battle, and it just felt like a waste of time. My party was quite overpowered by the end of the game, because you're just fighting so many enemies so frequently, that my party was really overpowered, and the final boss, he gave a little bit of a challenge, but he wasn't too difficult. So I think that was one area where I would have preferred a more bravely default kind of system, where you can choose to kind of increase or decrease the frequency of random encounters, so that you can then explore if you want to explore, or you can focus on battles if you want to battle. But for me, it just felt like they were too frequent. But that's probably the biggest criticism I have of the game. But other than that, I think it's great. I love the aesthetics. I love the style of the game. The music is great. The narration is great. The story is great. The battle system works, even though it is a little bit simplistic. I think it's just a really good game. And I'm really looking forward to the fact that the sequel is coming out so soon. So I really recommend this game, and I played it on Switch, and I think that's actually the perfect place to play it. The game looks great on Switch, but also it's something where you can just sit and, like I said, watch TV while playing it, because it doesn't require a lot of brain power. So guys, that's my thoughts on Voice of Cards Isle of Dragon Roars. Great game, really fun, especially if you like old school RPGs. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of this game? Have you played it? Leave a comment below, and as always, thanks for watching.